insert.
I'm not going to really take it apart too much. I'm going to leave that to Chris, but I do want to get this power cable disconnected.
It's very, very clean. You even have a chair.
Fully height adjustable chair, of course.
Okay, whenever.
Okay, we're here in the Integrity Medical Systems test area in beautiful Fort Myers, Florida. And we're in the final stages of assembling and testing a Hologic Multicare Platinum prone breast biopsy table, as seen here. Basically, the system consists of three major components. We have the high-frequency generator. We have the exam table. Currently in its uppermost raised position, the patient would lay along the table here with her head at either end, depending on which breast is being examined. The physician does her work or his work from this chair here. This is basically the targeting system where the system uses X-ray to localize a lesion within the breast, and then the targeting system isolates that lesion in 3 dimensions, X, Y, and Z. The lesion is then has a sample of tissue taken, which is analyzed and determined to be benign or malignant. We're going to start the system up now. It's a Windows XP professional-based platform. This is the DSM cart, aka the workstation. As you can see from the various cables on the floor, the end user has much flexibility as far as how they position the different units relative to each other. Unlike here in our test room, the cables will not be strewn all over the floor like this in big bundles, but they're neatly tucked away out of sight. Again, for test purposes, we don't need to do that here. So at this time, I'm going to energize the system. It's a single button to turn the entire system on. As we can see, the exam table itself has come on, and if we'll go back over here, again, we can see that there's plenty of light underneath here for the physician to see what she's doing. There's work lights here to add even more light. The table can move up and down. Typically, the table is lowered all the way down for the patient to get on or get off the table. And then once the patient is on, it's raised up into the uppermost position so the physician can work underneath. The C-arm moves independently of the table, and it can also go up or down, depending on the physician's preference. A nice feature of the Hologic breast biopsy system versus some of the competitors is the exam portion of the table can get all the way up to the underside of the table. We're within about 1/2 centimeter here, which makes it much, much easier and possible to localize anterior lesions. Some of the competitors don't get near that close, and if the lesion is in the anterior or rear part of the breast, they can't get to it. This system is well known for its ability to get anterior lesions. Another feature too, the entire exam part of the unit can be rotated around 180 degrees. I'm going to lower the C-arm a little bit so I don't hit anything as I rotate it. The thought process behind that is if the physician is right or left-handed, she can operate from either side, and if the lesion or the concerned breast is the right or left breast. Again, the woman can lay head to the right, head to the left, left breast, right breast, a lot of flexibility given the fact that all the different components of the system move independently of one another. The breast is under compression for the exam. The breast would be hanging down through this hole, and it would be compressed between here and here. The woman does receive a local anesthetic during the exam, so her breast is numb, so she doesn't feel any pain. And again, once this is in a comfortable working position, the lights are on, the physician will go ahead and do what she needs to do. We walk back over here. Again, the workstation typically is not operated by the physician, but by a X-ray technologist. Very, very simple system. The system can either do single exposures in a 512 mode or a 1024 mode, 1024 being a high-res mode, or it can do stereotactic exposures in a 512 or a 1024 high-res mode. Typically what they'll do is they'll use the single shot mode, here or here, low-res, high-res, to isolate a general area within the breast that the lesion is, and then they'll perform the stereotactic procedure. The stereotactic procedure, and again, if we can walk back over to the exam unit here, it's a fancy word, but it's a very simple concept where basically the arm, there's 2 exposures taken, one with the arm at plus 15 degrees relative to center, and the second exposure with the arm at minus 15 degrees relative to center. And then it's simply a matter of trigonometry. The computer computes distances, and it knows the 15-degree angles and the right triangles, and it comes up in 2 dimensions with a location within the breast. Once the third coordinate is fed into the computer, which is the compressed distance based on the thickness of the breast, the size/thickness of the breast, once that third coordinate is fed in, then the computer can calculate the position of the lesion within the breast in 3 dimensions. And as we look at our screen here, we can see it'll give an X, Y, and a Z coordinate. The X coordinate would be left to right, the Y coordinate would be up to down, and the Z coordinate would be in and out. Once the computer has the stereotactic images have been taken, the computer has targeted the location of the lesion within 3 dimensions to the 1/10 of a millimeter. There's a needle gun mounted up here. It's a spring-loaded needle gun. The gun is armed and then fired, and it goes directly to the point of the lesion, at which point the needle is withdrawn with a tissue sample, which is then sent to the lab for analysis. Usually, due to the nature of the device, the woman remains on the table while the tissue sample is sent to the lab. And in many cases, depending on what the lab results that come back real time are, the woman will go straight to the operating room. Otherwise, she'll be given a clean bill of health and go have a drink to celebrate. Basically, that's it. Again, at this moment, we're going to do a single shot, also known as a scout exposure. We're going to use the low-res mode. The high-res mode is a lot more dose to the patient. And again, we're going to use a preloaded patient, our test patient from earlier. Cleverly named integrity test. There's the images that were acquired earlier. Basically, that's images of a clear acrylic block. As you can see, it's a flat, homogeneous image, as it should be. I'm going to draw up within this patient folder my patient demographics, etc., etc. At this point, the system is ready to take the exposure. The exposure is capable of doing full AEC, automatic exposure control mode. Due to the size of my acrylic block in there, I'm going to select a higher kV. The exposure is initiated from the handheld controller, affectionately called by many technologists the Game Boy, for obvious reasons. The handheld controller does have a 40-foot cable, so if they don't have enough radiation shielding near the table, a rolling glass shield, they can go all the way across or even outside the room with the 40-foot cable to initiate the exposure. It's a single button exposure, and we're going to do the exposure now, and we can watch on the screen and see how the image is acquired. 32 kV, the system exposed at 119 mass, and again, here's our homogeneous flat field. The acquisition time is about 1.5 seconds. It's a Kodak CCD chip. That's the actual image receptor, and again, we have full capability here of windowing and leveling, and any digital manipulation to the image that needs to be done can be done. We can zoom in on the image, and as you can see, basically when we're looking for a grain of sand within the breast, the ability to zoom in like this is very important, and again, not all models and manufacturers' systems are capable of doing this. There's other tools available to the physician. Ruler, calipers, they can add all kinds of different notations and marks on here. The system is fully DICOM compliant. The images can be sent to a DICOM storage device or printed on a dry film or laser camera. And that's basically it.
Very good.